Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Maryville and City of Louisville Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Blount Chamber. My name is Tracy Queen. I'm the current chair-elect of the Chamber, and it's my pleasure to host today's forum. So welcome. In the candidate rotation, I'm going to ask a series of questions to all candidates. So please take a few minutes to answer the question, and then we'll move to the next candidate. Everyone ready? Okay.
Do it.
All right. So, City of Maryville. Council candidate questions. We're going to start. Drew, you're going to be up first. So, Drew Miles, what motivated you to run for the position of City Council for the City of Maryville?
Absolutely. You want to try to keep these couple minutes, 2 minutes? What do you think?
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, man, this is a good one because I think back 4 years ago, and three things came to mind. I'm like, man, I can't cram all that into just a couple minutes. And so the one that really stood out to me as far as why you even consider this is just the opportunity to serve people. If you go back 4 years ago and you look at it now, why do I even have the desire to continue? And it's truly to serve, whether it be in business, whether it's in your personal life. That's kind of what I live for, honestly, is I just want to help people. And the opportunity through nonprofit, volunteering, all of the different things that I've been able to be a part of in this community for years, this was sort of the next thing for me. And I said, in order to help people, in order to serve people on a broader scale, this is a really good opportunity. And so I explored that. And I decided that it was something I wanted to do, and quite frankly, it's been everything I wanted. I enjoy it, I love it, and hopefully with your all support, I would have the opportunity to continue in that capacity. So thank you, and I appreciate y'all being here today.
Thank you, Drew. Dallas?
I'll leave it on.
Is it
Dallas
on?
Monroe.
It's on, yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Dallas Monroe. I'm running for Maryville City Council. I would echo what Drew just said. Same situation, service. So it's a great opportunity to serve the community. If you look at what I do outside of work, I do have a day job. If you look at those things, I do serve on the Parks and Rec Commission. I've been on the Maryville City School Foundation Board for 8 years, so that's 2 full terms. They basically made me leave that one. Also, I've been on the Clayton Center Advisory Committee for the last year. So, I like Drew, I feel like service is an important part of what we do, and this feels like a great way to serve the community. And hopefully, we can use I can be voted in, and we can use the skills that I have in finance to help that. A little bit about me, just quickly. So, I am married. I've got a wife who she's a 24-year school teacher. I've got a daughter who's a junior at Maryville High. And I grew up here, so I was raised here, I was educated here, and really look forward to this opportunity.
Thank you, Dallas. Now, Sarah Herron.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to you all, to the Chamber, for hosting this event and for everyone being here. We have such a great Chamber, and I'm so proud of the work you do and so thankful for all that you do. We're so lucky in Blount County to have you, so thank you so very much. Yes, I'm Sarah Herron, and kind of to Drew's point, you think about 4 years ago, I originally ran because there just wasn't anyone like me on City Council. Not only am I the first and only woman ever elected, I also am just sort of a working person. I'm an everyday sort of person. And I also brought communications fluency, which I felt like was really important in the City of Maryville. Not just the ability to distill information and to communicate things, but also to be a good listener and what that means. And so that's why I originally ran. I'm here today because I'm excited to build on my record. My record as someone who, again, as an everyday person, when issues like property tax rate come before us, utility rates, utility fees, I feel every dollar. I'm a working mom and a single mom, and I feel every dollar. Also, I'm such a proud supporter of Maryville City Schools. I think that's the crown jewel of the city, and I'm so proud to every time they come to the podium and every time they have a budget request, I'm a yes. And so I'm really proud of that. And I also believe in open, responsible governance. I'm someone who has practiced transparency, I think, in a new way, and I'm really honored to do that work. And I'm willing and excited to continue serving in this capacity because representation matters and the perspective that I bring really matters in the City of Maryville.
Thank you, sir.
Yay, look at you.
Now we're transitioning to the town of Louisville. Ed Hawk, what motivated you to run for the position of alderman in the town of Louisville?
Well, seeing as how I've lived in Menor, Louisville, I was in Louisville before it was Louisville. Lived there my whole life. Got my wife and I, we got 6 kids, all raised right there off of Glen Road. I decided I was retired and seen a lot of stuff going on in the area, and had a lot of friends talk to me and go, you need to run for office, Ed. And when Steve had to drop out to Carrico, I talked with him. He said, Ed, I believe you'll be a good candidate. You've been in the area, you know what's going on. And so I believe I can help out. I have the time. That's a big thing to me, is a lot of times maybe you didn't have the time to listen to the community, listen to the people. I have easy access to my home. I'm home most of the time. They're more than welcome to come by. You can check me out on my social media, and I'll be willing to listen and see what we really need to do down in Louisville. A few things that are going on maybe I don't care for, but a lot of things that are going on that are super great, and the mayor has done a really good job down there. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Charlie?
Thank you, Ed. Charles Perry.
Yeah, I'm Charles Perry. A little about me, I'm a degreed engineer, master's and bachelor's degree in engineering power systems, 35 years doing that. My wife and I and our 2 kids moved to Tennessee about 24 years ago. And as soon as we moved, our oldest son was starting school, and we got involved in PTA and Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout leader the whole time. Both of my boys are grown now and both Eagle Scouts. So we've always done service wherever we've lived. When we moved to Louisville 8 years ago, I started going to the alderman and mayor meetings regularly, and then I ended up being appointed to the Board of Zoning Appeals 3 years ago. And then for the last 2 years, I've actually been the chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals. So again, we're always looking for something, the ways we can give back to the community. And the reason I was running is because, again, I knew Steve wasn't going to be running, and I thought this was a way I could continue to give back to my community.
Thank you, Charles. Lisa Vaught.
Yes, hi, I'm Lysia Vaught. I was raised in Blount County, as were my parents and grandparents, and raised our children in Blount County. They have grown and blessed us with 7 beautiful grandchildren who I help care for. I retired as a dental hygienist after 30 years to try to stay home and help care for them while their parents work. So family's a utmost importance to me, and I spend the majority of my time and energy doing that. But fostering a community that's favorable for growing families is one of my main passions, and I feel like Louisville has that quality, and I just want to preserve it. I have the time to devote to service. Since I am retired, I also have a heart for service, and I feel like in this position I could be a more active member of my immediate community. I'm also interested in gaining a little more insight into how the decisions in our community are made and the process behind that, and how I can contribute to that. I've been told our decisions today shape the future of tomorrow, so I believe that, and I'm kind of doing it for the grandkids.
Thank you, Lisa. Stephen Kelley.
Thank you. My answers are always usually short and sweet. I'm pretty direct and to the point. I'm the current alderman running for re-election. Years ago, actually, as long as I can remember, I've always tried to be involved locally. I think that's truly where a person like me can make a difference. People look on national, and it's like you feel so out of touch and out of reach. So that's why I ran several years ago. I kind of like Charles. I was actually sometimes Charles and I were some of the only people in the meetings at the town of Louisville. We're a small community, and sometimes there's 3 or 4 people out there. And our mayor at the time asked me if I'd be interested in the planning commission, so I did that. Hopped on the planning commission there, and then 4 years ago, another alderman decided he would not run, so they kind of asked me if I'd run for that. So I did that. I've enjoyed serving the community, want to continue to do that. We've got a lot of things we're working on, and so that's why I'm rerunning, is to kind of continue some of the work we're building on now. The previous administration, I thought, did a pretty good job on a lot of things, and then the current administration right now, we kind of overlap, and they're on track to do a really good job. So I want to kind of continue doing that.
Stephen, I'm going to ask you to hang on to that microphone. We're going to start with the second question for the Town of Louisville aldermen. Would ask you to answer the question, what will you do to make the Town of Louisville better? And what do you bring to the table?
Well, I'll start with what I bring to the table is kind of the experience and know-how of what's going on right now. I think we've got some things in the pipeline we're kind of working on. Is our community's growing. I mean, everybody in Blount County is experiencing growth, and that's going to kind of be one of the follow-up questions. But yeah, as we continue to grow, we got some things we're trying to grow in the community. I'm going to continue working on those. We've created a Parks and Rec department, which is kind of big for a small town like Louisville, but being able to do that will allow us to reach out and maybe get some grants that we wouldn't be eligible for previously. So we've added dog parks and actually a big handicap accessible park in front of our Louisville Town Hall that costs a lot of money, but it's used every single day, and I think it was money well spent. So there's things like that I'd like for us to continue to work on, and I think I have the experience to do that. Just kind of being involved throughout the past few years, and want to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Lisa?
Well, I think better could be defined in a lot of different ways. I think Louisville is wonderful, but my aim would be to discover the desires of the citizens and just act from there. What I bring to the table is just a willingness and eagerness to serve my community with a consistent, common sense approach and a fresh perspective. I've served on several volunteer and community boards in the past, but my goal is just to protect and preserve the quality of life that our residents currently enjoy.
Thank you, Lisa. Charles?
Yeah, I guess what I bring to the table, I'm a practicing engineer, 30-some years. I've been at my current employer for 24 years, Electric Power Research Institute. And I'm known as a problem solver. I often get picked to take on departments and or projects that are struggling and bring them back to life. And so far I've been successful every time. What would I do to better Louisville? I think Louisville is a great place. My wife and I chose to live in Louisville. We could have moved to any community we wanted. I like what the community has been doing around, the new park facilities. I'd like to see us continue doing some development around the town hall to turn it, to more ways to attract the residents to that beautiful facility. And we've got a great piece of property there to work on. So, yeah.
Thank you, Charles. Ask everyone to please hold the mic a little bit closer.
Well, actually, there's a lot going on in Louisville, and I've tried to be a little active with the Parks and Rec side of it. We have a couple of travel baseball teams, the younger boys, and they use the ballpark down there for the facilities, and so I was real proud to be part of that just as a volunteer to help get that situation. And what I bring to the table is I've worked hard all my life just to get along in life, I guess you would say. I owned my own business for 17 years while I was raising my kids, so I would have the opportunity to be with my kids at their softball games, their karate practice, their tournaments, and all that stuff. So for 17 years, I managed 4 kids and a house and a business, and I think I could bring that to the table at Louisville. I've seen some things that could be done a little bit better, but not a whole lot. They do a really good job down there right now, but I think I could be an asset to the community. And like I said, that's my community. I've lived there my whole life. Matter of fact, I was raised on Monroe Road on 2 different ends for my whole life. So, yeah, I believe I'd be an asset.
Thank you, Ed. City Council?
Well, the City of Maryville is a wonderful place to live, and we're doing a lot of things so well. I think when I think about how we can make things better, I think one of those is in how we engage and involve the community. So an example of that would be boards and commissions. You know, we've reappointed a lot of people over and over again for, 8, 10, 12, sometimes like 20 years. And I think it's great to have that experience, but we really could improve how we're churning that leadership and how we're cultivating new leaders and new people to serve on boards and commission. And I take responsibility for that as well. That is something that I need to be doing. And so I think bringing in new people will make Maryville better. I also think that we could improve our notification policy and how we let people know when something is happening in, that really impacts their property. So if something, for example, is coming before the Board of Zoning Appeals where there's going to be a really big exception that could be considered, I think we could probably do a better job of letting residents and property owners know that that's coming before that board. And so that's something that the council has been discussing, is that we have a stronger notification system, that we're better communicators. And then also, speaking of Board of Zoning Appeals, I think that we need to tighten the reins. I think there have been some, I think of Carpenter's grade, for example, that special exception, that density that's there. Once BZA makes a decision, that decision is final. It does not come back to an elected body. And so there are some things that we need to consider as a city council to really strengthen our parameters so that those kinds of things are not happening. So those are just a few things that I think we could improve to make the city of Maryville better. What do I bring to the table? Well, understanding how we can make things better. Being there for 4 years, I think it takes about that long to really understand how things work. So there's that, but again, just going back to what I said in my earlier comments, I bring a different perspective, not just as a woman, but as someone who's just a working person, and really understanding what that means for just an everyday person. And so I'm excited to continue that work, and I think it's a perspective that is most certainly needed on that council.
Thank you, Sarah. Dallas?
I would just echo and agree that Maryville is a great place to live. I mean, if you look at what it has going, great schools, great public schools, low tax rate, it's easy to do business here. So it checks a lot of the boxes. And when that happens, you have quite a few people who want to live here. So I'm sure we could all complain about the traffic a little bit, but that's a good problem to have. People like this place. So I would say my strength and my skill, what I bring to the table is around corporate finance. So I have 30 years of corporate finance. And it's odd, but my career has gone from big companies to smaller companies. So Clayton Homes, Ruby Tuesday Corporate. I'm currently the CFO at West Chevrolet. So one would think that's a bad thing, but that's actually a really good thing when you realize you get to wear a bunch of different hats in a small organization. So I am the HR department. I'm the benefit department a lot of times. I am the person who closes the books. And those are all good things. That gives you different exposure to use on city council, because they have the same instances that they deal with at that level. So that's what I think that I bring to the table.
Excellent. To the point that has been made a couple times down the table, we were blessed. I mean, look around, guys. We are very, very blessed to be where we are, and the city of Maryville is definitely in that camp. I will tell you this: we're lucky to have the last several generations, decades of leadership that we have. I mean, we're in a position right now in the city of Maryville. We have a lot of opportunity. The future's bright. And so to me, the most exciting part of the next 4 years is what do we get to do with that opportunity? And to a couple points that's been made, Tennessee is a destination. Folks are coming here. It's how do we respond to that? We have some really, really important decisions to be made we have an amazing school system. We've got to be able to continue that legacy. We have a complete restructure from TDOT on how they prioritize their funding for roads. We're going to have to address those things locally. If you look at our Parks and Rec, our trail system, it's awesome. Like, we're public safety. We have an amazingly safe community. So the balance that we manage every day, to Dallas's point, the balance we manage every day is how do you provide a high level of those services, yet keep low taxes? That's our job. That's important to me, is how are we being good stewards of the money that comes into the city? That is the residents' money. How are we good stewards with that to provide a high level of services, yet keep low taxes? And I think with the business background that I have, over 20 years in business, I think that's critically important as we move into a period of some pretty significant capital decisions that are going to have to be made in the city.
Thank you, Drew. Okay, for question 3, you'll pass the microphone down to Ed Hawk. We'll start with the candidates for the town of Louisville. The question is, what are the most critical challenges facing the town of Louisville, and what would you like to address those, and what would you do to address those challenges?
Okay, I think one of the things that we're going to run into down in Louisville is the influx of a lot of people. Like you were saying, Tennessee's the place to be, and it's made it really difficult for people to come down. Matter of fact, I was just looking at a piece of property the other day, and I was amazed that a half-acre lot was $65,000. And I think that we need to take a really hard look at that and come up with some way to maybe keep people from using the property in Louisville. We don't want a lot of big subdivisions down there. We want to try to keep Louisville. So maybe look at doing some kind of restrictions on our housing down there, that, you know, we're not going to come in and put 100 house subdivision on somewhere where a guy's got a big farm. Maybe his family doesn't want the farm anymore, or the tree farms that are down there. We don't want to be destroying that property in that situation. And you know, our way of life in Louisville is a little bit different from the city of Maryville, just a little bit. We're kind of country folks, and with all the new people coming in, sometimes they don't realize where they're moving, and they're kind of like, we don't like this, after they've done purchased property in our area, and they go, we really don't like the way these people live, and they try to change it. And I firmly believe in trying to keep Louisville. So, you know, we just have to put our heads together, come up with a really good solution to keep both sides happy, and, you know, maybe make sure the land use is used correctly out in the county like that.
Thank you, Ed. Charles?
Yeah, I guess one of the things I think of that we have a problem with in Louisville, it looked like until a couple of years ago we were going to finally get a sewer system into Louisville. We have no sewer service at all in Louisville, municipal sewer. We have a lot of older properties, some really small lots with old septic systems, so you know you have to expect that those are going to begin failing. Middle Settlement School, they've already had issues with their septic system, so one of the big things I think there's a problem in Louisville is we don't have access to a sewer system. And, I'm not sure how much I can do on the council, on the Board of Aldermen to get a sewer system, but that's one of the things I would be working towards, is trying to find ways to get sewer service in the township.
I would echo what Mr. Hawks said. The biggest challenge that I foresee is sensible growth. I agree, the secret's out on Tennessee, and I think Louisville is a hidden gem. But thanks to the foresight of our city's founders, there are already zoning restrictions in place that prohibit high-density housing like we've seen in some areas, and I would just work to uphold and enforce those measures.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. And that's a very good point that Lisa brought up. I was wanting to kind of piggyback off too. And same with Ed, he's exactly right. The town's growing, just like all of Blount County. We're in a unique situation because we're 20 minutes from Knoxville, but we're also 20 minutes from here. It's kind of funny how that works out. But we'll have more growth coming up, and that is something we got to keep an eye on. And I'm on the planning commission. That's one thing we did a long time ago. Is we actually have lot restrictions like Blount County imposed, and we're this board is pretty heavy on trying to keep those in place because roads change and all that. I mean, Louisville Road is our main way through, and it's just a 2-lane road. So that's definitely something we have to kind of keep an eye on the growth coming in, and we still want to accommodate those people. You hit the nail on the head. There's, you got your original Louisville residents, and they like it there. And then there's a lot of people coming in town. They're wanting more things and different things. So you have to find a common ground to try to appease both sides because you're representing the people, not just one person that's been there forever. You've got new people that vote for you too, and you got to try to represent all those. We've got some plans, hopefully, some works trying to get maybe like a town center or something like that, and it will have its own private sewer system. That's kind of in the works. I can't speak a whole lot to it yet because it's not a complete thing, but we're hoping to kind of create things like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We'll pass the mic down. Drew, you'll start.
I like Drew starting. It's a good idea.
I like Drew starting. Let's go. I'm going to answer that because this was one of my favorite questions. So I'm going to answer that really in two different pieces. Number one, I want to talk operationally on behalf of the city and some of the things they're dealing with, just day-to-day operations. And then the other part will be capital investments. From an operations standpoint, I don't think anyone in here, we're in the business community here, we're at the chamber. I think everyone here is aware of our workforce issues that we're seeing across the country, and especially here in Blount County. Attracting and retaining talent is difficult. I see a couple heads nodding. It's critically important, and the City of Maryville is right there in the same boat. Okay, so they're going through, which actually was work session last week, going through a lot of discussions on operationally what do we need to do to respond to this post-COVID environment of employment. Right, so that's something kind of on an operational side. Here's the three that I really love. So think capital. We are in the middle of a high school expansion. Critically important for the school board, director of schools, extremely important to make sure we get that right. And so that's just one example of the relationship, how important it is to have a good relationship with the school board. So school expansion is one. Second one, it was mentioned about the sewer plant. Our wastewater treatment plant is going to dominate discussions over the next 5 to 10 years. What do we do as a region? For those of you that don't know, the City of Maryville administers the regional wastewater treatment plant, which is City of Alcoa, City of Maryville, parts of Blount County, a little bit of South Knoxville. But it administers the regional wastewater treatment plant. Big discussion going to have to be made. Do we add on to that? Do we build a new facility? Lots of talk on how we responsibly make those decisions so that 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, we've set everyone up for success. Okay, so I take that one seriously as well. And then the third one, I mentioned it earlier, TDOT recently, some may or may not know, TDOT restructured how they prioritize funding from the state level and federal level. And it completely shook up the plans within most cities around the state, including Maryville. So they're in the middle of right now trying to figure out, okay, how do we reprioritize intersections, bridges, Greenway Trail bridges, and it literally turned everything upside down, shook it out on the table and said, all right, let's start over. So they're in the middle of trying to figure out how to handle that. I get excited to be able to look at these capital projects and figure out, again, where do you invest the money? Where do you find that ROI that makes the most sense to have a high-quality place to live, to have amazing services, and keep low taxes? How do you do that? It takes thought and it takes strategy. Thank you.
Can you remind me what the question is?
I sure can.
Okay.
What are the most critical challenges facing the City of Maryville, and what would you do to address those challenges?
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with Drew. So I also hear through others and the newspaper that we've got some big capital projects that are going to come over the next few years, and we'll have to really understand our budget. We'll have to understand our capital structure to make sure we do that and balance taxes. So those are things that we have to do. We are known as having decent, fair taxes here, and that's something that we have to continue. The only other thing I would add is as I talk to government leaders, is make sure we're paying folks adequately to keep the talent here. So we got to make sure that we're doing a good job to keep our teachers and keep our officers here, because we do a great job. Again, when we talk about what makes a successful city, our schools are ranked very high. Our safety is important, security. We go to bed at night and we kind of take those things for granted. So it is a balance when it comes to taxes. But again, it's a great place to be, and it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, I also echo what Drew said. Good job, Drew.
Hey, thanks.
Yes, that was very well said. I think when you talk about things like this, you have to first really understand how city council works. We have a great staff. You look at our logo, people are key. We have an incredible city manager, and we have really great leaders and great staff at the City of Maryville. And the way that this works is that city council hires our executives. So we are, we provide oversight for the city. We work very closely with our city manager, and he's incredibly talented. And it's really important that the person who is in place understands and is doing their job operationally. So we don't really get too far in the weeds from operations. It's almost like a nonprofit board in a way. So really what's important for us is that we're setting standards and that we understand that there's all of these challenges and there's all these mouths to feed. And it's not necessarily being the person to decide what the priority is. We have a great staff that helps us really distill that and understand that. But we also have to understand things like, what can citizens afford? There's lots of things that we need and things that we want to do. But when we're talking about a tax increase, when we're talking about the implications of the budget, what can the everyday citizen actually afford? What does it mean to them? And that is representative government, and that is our job. It's not to get far down in the weeds and decide what we're doing operationally. It's being a good representative to the people of Maryville.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, for the next question, if you'll pass the microphone down to Lisa, the school will start, and then Lisa, you'll pass it to Stephen, and then we'll come back to your left and work our way through the Louisville candidates. This question is, if you could change one thing in the town of Louisville, what would it be and why?
Well, I think all of us have said before that I feel like our current administration is doing a great job in the town of Louisville. And they seem to be united and cohesive and truly have the best interests of our people in mind. I feel like I could work very well with them and be both like-minded and open-minded in the decisions regarding our town. I wouldn't come in with the intention of changing anything specifically, but I would be willing to listen to the concerns and ideas of the community in order to make improvements. Steve?
Thank you. Yeah, there's not a lot I would like to really change about Louisville. I know we're set up as the town itself changes. We're kind of hoping to adapt to that, and that's kind of come along with it. But the one thing I would like to see more of is community involvement. We have people use our playgrounds. They go to the dog park. They come out and enjoy the area, but we don't get a lot of people coming to the meetings and things like that. So that's kind of why I don't applaud you guys for actually being here, because not everybody does that. They don't show up to these kind of things. And I think it's important to do that. So I really wish we could get more community involvement before there's a problem, because a lot of times all of a sudden something will be up that they don't like, and then that's when they come out, and it's really hard to stop a ball from rolling sometimes. So I'd like to see a little bit more community involvement at our meetings. So thank you.
Great point.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Lisa and Steve said. There's not a lot that I would change about Louisville. I'd love to have a sewer system. But and I'd like to have fire hydrants on my end of the town. But I really agree with Steve. I mean, he made a comment earlier. We started going to these board of aldermen and mayor meetings, and sometimes it was the two of us and sitting over there looking at them. And I really would like to see find a way to get the community more involved, get them showing up more. Because we have a similar thing, although it's not as bad right now, where we end up with the same people on the boards over and over and over. And part of that's because you don't get the community showing up to these meetings and learning what's going on and offering to volunteer. I know social media, I know the town has done a really good job upgrading their social media and their website, and that's probably one good way to reach out. And unfortunately, that doesn't hit some people. Some people don't do social media, but when you start looking at the budget side, mass mailings I don't like mass mailings because that seems to me always seems like a little bit of a waste of town's money. So, yeah. So, yeah, I would like to see just more residents involved with our local government.
Thank you, Charles. Ed?
Yeah, I've got to agree with the rest of the crew here. We had our fall festival this past weekend. 10,000 people showed up. Estimate, we had 10,000. I walked around as Lisa had a booth there. Charlie was walking around with a shirt. It's pretty cool. Talked to a lot of people, and they were real surprised, or I was real surprised to find out that probably 15% was all that was there from Louisville. Everybody else was from Oak Ridge, Madisonville, Friendsville, Greenback, Maryville, Alcoa, and I'm like, wow. And the people that were there that I talked to, I asked them, did you know this? Did you know that? And they're like, we had no idea. I said, well, we have an app. Town of Louisville has an app. Haley does a spectacular job. We have a Facebook. I'm telling them, this one lady lives on Middle Settlements Road. She said, we're constantly digging cars out of my neighbor's front yard. There's a bad curve there. Can we get a sign put up? I said, I can't tell you that. I said, but come to the meeting. A meeting? Like I said, they don't show up to the meetings. We need to find a way to get people to show up, let us know what they need, see if we can work the problem, take care of it. And then, there are some restrictions down there in Louisville that was put in place years ago that I don't care for. I won't get into them here because it could possibly upset some people. But I was very vocal about it at the meetings, and so I would try to get that changed probably. Or if not changed, then maybe less restrictive. But yeah, we need to get the people more involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And Sarah will skip you and start this question with Dallas.
I can't point to one thing that I would change. Again, I think we're really fortunate where we are. Our opportunities are going to be managing the growth that we have. So, that's really incumbent on our city leaders and the council to make the right decisions. Roads, schools, the infrastructure, the heavy capital outlay that Drew mentioned. You think about the city and its 17 square miles, it's developed. I mean, we're built out at this point. So we've been in growth mode, and I feel like we're about to be in stabilization mode a bit to some degree. So now it is going to be a case of management and cash custodians, and so I think that's going to be our biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So downtown Maryville's a big one for me. I think that if you travel all across the country over the last 25 years-ish, you've seen a resurgence of downtowns all across, right? And there's something about a downtown that gives you, a sense of belonging, right? This is our place. We rally around downtowns. When you travel, what do? You go to the downtown. You eat at the local restaurants. You go to the local shops. To Dallas's point, we're in a place right now where we have seen our 17 square miles. We're fairly dense for a community like ours. We're at a place right now where we are going to have to understand that downtown's going to be critical to bring in commerce, a sense of belonging, right? Rally around the things of who we are as a community. But also, we're going to have to consider some downtown living, walkability. It keeps cars off the road. It keeps the urban sprawl that we hear about in the county. I view it as an onion. Think of it like an onion where the center can be dense. And as the rings go out, you have different levels of how dense it may be. And you get further out, and we go from a dense urban core, possibly, to the ultimate preservation of the national park. Like, to me, that's essentially how you view zoning as you get further away. And so people are coming to Tennessee, and they're coming to Blount County. The question is, how do we respond to that? okay? So to me, again, downtown revitalization is key for not only the local people. I'm born and raised here. I've been here 40 years. Born at Blount Memorial Hospital. I love this town. I want my kids to be here forever. We need to give them opportunities, and I think by revitalizing downtown and investing and committing to that as local business owners, local people, we can create a place that's a sense of community. We can have living for walkability, and we can keep some of the cars off the road, to your point, and keep some of the urban sprawl that they're talking about in Louisville from being so prominent.
Something I would change, and it almost seems small and kind of internal, but going back to really working hard to bring in the community and be good listeners and good communicators. And I think when you're talking about getting people involved in their government, you have to invite them. There has to be an invitation. There has to be some cultivation there. But a very kind of small thing, seemingly small, is that the way City Council works is that we have work sessions on the third Friday mornings of every month. And then we have our meetings on Tuesday nights, first Tuesdays of the month. And on those Tuesdays, that's when we vote. That's when we take action. But those work sessions are really, really critical. That's where we set our agenda. And it's on a Friday morning from 8 a.m. until 10, sometimes 11, sometimes noon. But that is where we really deliberate and where we set that agenda and we talk in depth about these issues. And I would like to see that move to a time that working people could attend. I would like to see a time where people who, go to work, usually about 8 o'clock in the morning on a weekday, could come and be part of those discussions and really hear in depth the issues that we're facing and the things that we're going to be voting on in our evening meetings. And so I've always felt like that is a change that we should make so we can involve citizens more, because it's not just about listening, but it's also getting that buy-in. We have hard decisions to make. A lot of times there's sort of winners and losers. And we're talking about things like impacting your property values and your livelihood and your quality of life. And we need to be better communicators with our community when we're making those kinds of decisions.
Thank you, Sarah. So last question, and we're going to start with the City of Maryville and Sarah. So
Okay.
hang on the
Welcome to the Sarah Show.
You're first.
Finally.
You started answering this question, so anything else that you want to add to this? How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Maryville?
Well, something that I've done since I ran in 2020, and I guess some people would consider it pretty dangerous, is that when I go knocking on doors and when I talk to people, when I talk to voters, and even as I'm serving, is I give them my cell phone number. I just feel like whether you're, just a everyday working person, you should have the phone number of an elected official. It shouldn't just be people of influence and people of wealth who can reach their elected official. I think everybody deserves to pick up the phone and be able to talk to someone and to ask those questions. And I'm always really honored when people call me or text me. And so I try to be as accessible as possible. And that is a way that I personally can get people involved and make sure that, not only are their voices being heard, because sometimes people just want to be heard, but they also understand how things work. And a lot of times the frustration is just that they just simply don't understand kind of how it works and what the issues are and the nuances of that and how things are not always black and white. And so just being a good communicator. So when I talk to folks, I just say, here's my phone number, feel free to call me. And they do. And I'm always honored for them to do that. So I'm always looking for ways, just personally, how I can involve people and be accessible, but to just make sure that everyone knows that they matter, that you don't have to be someone who is, quote, important or part of an establishment, or someone who has a lot of wealth or influence, that you matter too, and you can call your elected official anytime you have a question or concern.
All right, Sarah, if you will pass to Dallas, and let's try to hold these and make these pretty quick because we want to move to question and answer before we have to wrap up. Okay?
Okay, yeah, and so the meetings are open for council meetings, so folks have an opportunity to come and talk and express themselves there. The city numbers are publicized. You have full opportunity to talk to those folks. Through this process, I have actually created or had someone create a website for me, so it's interesting the feedback you get, and so I've used that as an opportunity to connect with people. So through this process, I will leave that open, and that will be another open communication line for folks to either give me feedback or I can provide response that way as well. So I would just point to those two things.
And Terry, Sarah, you teed this one up for me. Did you the last one? I'm accessible. I mean, again, business owner here. I have people literally walk into my office and want to talk about council things, and I'm totally fine with that. I actually enjoy it. Whether it be a Maryville Little League, coaching T-ball, or at church, or running the Greenway Trail, we're out all the time. We went to Norman, Oklahoma, to UT football game, and I stood around and talked to some people I'll talk to anybody. I love it. So that is literally the premise of who I am, is just I'm accessible. Like I have been and I always will be. Look me up, let's chat.
That's the truth, he will talk.
But I do have his cell phone number if you'd like it.
Yeah, call me.
And if you'll kick us off with that question.
My turn again. Well, I'm kind of like these guys. I live just off Topside Road. I have easy access to my home. Actually, I know so many people in the area. Like I said, I've been there my whole life, which is a long time. I'm getting old. But, come by and see me. I won't be afraid to put it out there. Got social media. You can look me up on Facebook. Like you said, you get some strange things. But, I'm probably going to set up a website. I'm not much of a computer geek, but my wife is. So we'll probably do that. And then just basically, I see people at the corner store, at the Shell station, at the Weigels, whatever. And I always tell them, hey, if you need something, you got to come and see me, because if you don't tell me what you need, I'm not a mind reader. And so I think, I agree with Charlie there. I don't like mail outs. I don't think that's a good thing, but we could put up some big signs maybe in the area and say, hey, we're having a meeting, this is meeting days and like that. But it would basically just be up to me to get out and meet people and say, okay, look this up, show up at our meetings, come and see me. I'm home most of the time. Just watch out for my big dog, because he'll lick you to death.
Thanks, Ed. Charles?
Yeah, I kind of spoke to it earlier. We're doing a better job with our social media, and we do need to. I think something we're not doing is we advertise we're having a meeting, but we're not providing a reason for people to attend the meetings. And maybe we need to do a better job of informing the residents of the importance of coming to a meeting, or just invite them to come to a meeting one time to see what it is. They may not want to come back and see a political meeting again. I went to one and unfortunately got hooked to it and started going to most of them. So, I think one of the things we've missed is actually trying to give residents a reason to show up for meetings.
Thank you, Charles. Lisa?
I agree with Mr. Perry. That's actually how I got interested. Was I started going to the meetings, and someone invited me to one. So I think inviting people to the meetings in whatever way we can. We are doing a good job with social media. I think our Facebook page, anyway. There's actually a survey online right now by our current administration to put input into our parks and recreation facilities. So if I would encourage our residents to take advantage of that opportunity right now. I think that's just an effective way to reach a great number of people, but I really enjoy the personal approach. So I would make myself available and try to be approachable and receptive, and just seek out and engage, seek out opportunities to engage with our people, such as attending the community events and functions that we offer.
Thank you, Lisa. Steve?
Thank you. I'd like to just keep up with what we're doing. We've our past administration, we developed an app. Well, we didn't develop an app. We came up with a company that's developed an app. Helps us communicate, and any of our residents can sign up for it. We need to stay in front of making sure people are doing that, because it's a great way of sending out information. Like she, or actually I think it was Charles was saying, we have the Parks and Rec department is already working on. We've hired a company to take a survey as we go forward. We've actually got a good bit of land to develop, and so we're reaching out. We're doing surveys online in our our new website allows us to work with that in the app. And then, so that aside, but I want to continue doing what I do. I stay active in the community. Anytime I have a moment to volunteer or be involved in something, I continue to do that. And I'm always speaking with neighbors, trying to let them know what's going on, inviting them to meetings. And I think we just need to kind of keep doing what we're doing. And hopefully we'll just as our community grows and gets larger, we'll have more opportunities to be in front of our clientele out there. Thank you.
Stephen, thank you. Candidates, thank you for answering those questions. We will now move to question and answers. Jim.
I think the point's been made that oftentimes the issues that develop in rights at higher levels of government certainly trickle down to the local level and have a significant impact here. I'd be curious as to the candidates' positions on the hot topic now about school vouchers.
Maybe. See what?
Do we just, how does this work? Do you volunteer or do you?
So you're asking every single person, or?
You want me to take that? Sure, I'll take that one. I think if you aren't aware, I think most of Blount County would tell you they are opposed to school vouchers, and a recent election probably shows that. It was not only the 3 local school boards, but also the local governments that all formally opposed vouchers to the state of Tennessee. And Sarah and I were part of that. City of Maryville unanimously opposed school vouchers. And we'll see what happens next year. I'd be interested to see some of the things that come out of the state to determine, there's some middle ground they're going to seek, because at this point we are opposed to those. And until our school board tells us otherwise, we're going to be in that same camp.
Yeah, I was very proud to sign the proclamation in opposition to vouchers. As someone who I have a child in a private school. It was just the best decision for him. And like I said, I'm just sort of a middle class, everyday working person. And it's difficult to afford tuition, but it is doable. We pay every month. And that's just sort of what we do. And so, I would say that if you want school choice, you ought to pay for it. And I truly believe that everybody in the city of Maryville, whether you have a student in Maryville City Schools or not, we all benefit from a strong public school system. And so I will never support vouchers, and I will always be a big supporter of Maryville City Schools. And I think all of us can say that we're very proud of that school system.
Are we all responding? Okay. So yes, I'll take this too. And I agree with the council and the declaration they made to basically support our public schools. And in reality, this is not a local decision. This is going to occur at the state. So we do need to continue to support our schools. And I think you've seen this. It's been publicized. There was a case study in Arizona who went early, and it has resulted in some huge financial overruns. So I currently don't support it. I'm also married to a school teacher of 24 years, so public school teacher.
Same.
Same. I'm actually married to a former school teacher. She's still in education, but she's not a school teacher anymore. I don't support the vouchers, school vouchers. I don't think vouchers is the way you fix poor performing schools. You fix poor performing schools, and I think sometimes we've got politicians who look at an easier answer, and so let's just let people take their kids someplace else rather than taking care of the problems we have. And this is not indicative of Maryville schools or Blount County schools. We have great schools around here. We really do. But I think what's driving this is the issue where you have poor performing schools and people get frustrated that they don't get fixed. Yeah.
Thank you. Recently we saw that Knox County and Loudoun County internet access became part of the utility company. And I also know that Maryville Utility and Alcoa Utilities is looking at that as well. What's your support, what's your thought on the idea of internet access being as critical as it is for not only education, but for communication, as being part of a utility company?
I've always really wanted to very seriously explore a public-private model where the City of Maryville would own the fiber optics, and be able to lease it to private companies so that there's competition, real competition for what we're paying for high-speed internet. So I've always been someone who's wanted to be more serious about looking into that so that we can provide those choices to our citizens and hopefully bring in such a competitive environment that we're getting the best service for the lowest price.
And not being privy to those council decisions in the past or those conversations, I really don't know how to answer that, but I'd love to evaluate it. So I'm all for looking for the best option that's out there for the citizens.
Yeah, I think it's a big question as you get into the more rural parts of the county, for sure. If you look at the city of Maryville, really it's a pretty competitive private market to be able to go out and get internet access in basically all corners of the city. I know the last time staff looked at that and kind of went through that, what does that look like to bring that on as part of our utility district? The numbers didn't make sense. They did a lot of work with those adjacent utility boards, and they couldn't come to a place that made sense for that investment. I think it's going to be on the table. I mean, it has to be moving forward, but where do you get to that place where the need exists in the city, where the investment is warranted? I think that's the discussion the staff continues to go through.
I know that one of the key things has been in trying to keep people in Blount County instead of young people leaving to go someplace else to work. Is there something as far as planning for affordable housing that we might keep those people here instead of traveling to other outside counties to work?
You want to go first? I'll tee that one off. So from an affordable housing standpoint, I know Maryville Housing has a lot of momentum with new board. Their leadership's extremely motivated to figure out how that organization can begin investing in the community again. It's been decades since they really made some substantial investments. So I like to hear what they're doing. My gut reaction to that is I think housing probably is settled for the most part in the private sector. I think if we can provide zoning rules, we can provide opportunities for people to go out and find things that make sense in an area and in a district where we can create zoning that has housing opportunities. Don't necessarily fund it or get involved with how to make it happen or not happen. Just create an environment for what we want long term. That's critical. And then allow the private sector to actually go out and make those things happen. It's difficult right now because the price of land is so high. The price of labor, materials is high. It really is. It's simple economics, supply and demand. And right now, the demand is high, supply is low, prices are up. The only way to bring our prices down and become more affordable is to provide supply. So where do we provide that supply? You got to be really strategic with it. Part of my onion discussion earlier.
Yeah, it's really difficult in the state of Tennessee for governments to really, spur that. But something that I've been really excited about is the United Way is leading a really incredible effort with a group of community partners in solutions for affordable housing. And so I love going to those meetings to hear some of those creative ideas. And I feel like for my part is listening to some of the things they'd like to do and understanding what is it that we can do as a council to remove barriers and to help them bring those things into fruition so that we're not running into a zoning issue, to Drew's point, or something like that would make it impossible for those community partners to move forward with some of these really great ideas.
Okay, I thought Charlie. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything.
All right, I still have the microphone.
Bring it.
The overlord would like to ask a
Uh-oh.
question. Oh my goodness.
This could be bad.
You know, one of the things that I think is important for folks as voters is to know differences between candidates. So could you give me one area where you are different from the person sitting next to you?
You're blonde-headed and I'm gray.
I'm the prettiest. You know, I think I'm really honored to be the first woman elected, and I think that representation is important. You know, when we had a Girl Scout troop come to our last meeting, I think it's important for them to see me up there. You know, I really am and truly honored to do that. I know, like, you all have daughters, and you know, for young women in particular, that they understand that they deserve a place at the table, and women deserve to be in leadership at every level of government. And so I'm really proud to do that. I like to say I'm the mom on the ballot. I get treated like a little sister on the city council sometimes. But I do think that that voice is important, and it brings value and it brings depth to our leadership. So there's that, but also what I mentioned in just sort of being a working person. And so I know I bring a perspective that just simply does not exist. And so that's the difference.
I think my difference is really just experience. So you look at my corporate finance experience, again, 30 years, and that's working for some really strong companies. That's working for distressed companies. And honestly, you know, I learned more in a period of 3 years with a distressed company than I did in the 27 years. So as Drew mentioned, and we've all talked about, there's serious challenges that will come up. And I think my finance experience, whether that be restructuring, treasury, cash flow, budgeting, and forecast, I think it's going to be really important.
Let's see. So similar but different to Dallas. I've been blessed enough to have an amazing group of people in my business. Built it from scratch. Literally, my in-laws were the very first insurance policies I ever wrote, and we've grown to be the largest agency in the state of Tennessee. I serve on the National Agency Advisory Council for Farmers Insurance. I've done that for 5 years, and they look to me to represent 10,000 farmers agencies. There are 10 of us, and I have to meet with our executives every quarter and have those discussions. And so you take the business aspect of it, then you take the fact, again, I was born and raised here. I actually grew up in Blount County. I grew up in 6 Mile. Lived the first 36 years of my life in 6 Mile. So I have the county's perspective. Went to Lanier Elementary School, William Blount High School. So I have the county's perspective baked into who I am, along with the business, plus the fact I said it when I started, I literally live every single day to figure out how to serve people. The day I can't serve, I'll leave the earth. That's what I wake up for. And I think if you take all of those things and you mash them together, it creates a candidate that can sit in that room and have humble, respectful conversations about truly what is best for the citizens of Maryville, taking into consideration the rest of the county, because we do impact one another. As much as we try to stay in our silo, we do impact one another.
Oh, me? Well, let's see.
Go ahead.
You want it, Steve? Go ahead.
Yeah. We're kind of a little quieter over here on Louisville. I mean, City of Maryville is a little bit different than Town of Louisville, and maybe I can kind of wrap it up for our guys over here. A handful of us have just recently met, so for me to say the difference of these people, I'm probably the one that's a tad bit different because I have been in office, so, you know, I could say, you know, based on experience, you know, because I do have a little bit of that, but, you know, Lisa and Ed and I just recently met within the past couple of weeks, so I can't really compare those, so maybe that'll help on why we're probably a little quieter over here, unless any of them have anything to say, so sorry about that.
Well, I'll say one thing, something different. I am an engineer. My wife says it's a birth defect. But what that brings, I have, you know, over 30-some years of experience building teams, building plans, and executing plans. And so that's my life. That's what I have to do every day of my life. That's what I get paid to do. And I enjoy doing that. So I think that's a level of organization maybe is something that would differentiate me.
I think maybe what might make me a little bit different than the other candidates is I've never run for public office before. So I see things a little bit different maybe than somebody that's been in the politics a couple years or several years or whatever, made a career out of it. I'm kind of also like Charlie here. I was a heavy equipment mechanic for my whole life, and we had to go through some rigorous training. So I see problems out there in the middle of nowhere I had to solve. So I have a little bit of, I guess you'd say, problem solving. I'm not an engineer, but I do see things like that. But yeah, I think I come in with a fresh face, and like I said, I've always lived in Louisville, so I think it just that's a positive for me. May not be, but I think it is. So
I'll take it back. Y'all gonna make me point out the obvious. You're gonna make me point out the obvious. I'm a girl. But I think that does bring a little bit of a different perspective. I was a working mom, raising 3 kids, and I don't have a lot of experience in the political realm, but I'm one of the, I call myself a common sense conservative because I do have kind of conservative values, and I feel like I just bring the common person that I'm trying to represent to the table to give them a voice. So I won't spend what we don't have, and won't change what seems to be working well. That's just kind of, I don't know that I'm that different in them. I think we all have very similar ideas in that regard. Just a little bit who I am, though.
Thank you. I think that's enough. Thank you. One last call for questions. Back in the corner. No mic back there?
Good afternoon. So I think it's easy politically to be ideological when we're all on the campaign trail, right? But real leadership requires tough decisions. I think we'd all agree. And no leader can always go with a consensus. Can you provide an example of when on a board, commission, council, or some committee that you've ever served on that you stood up for an issue for a community or stakeholders that kind of left you on an island, and how did you take that experience and move forward?
I'll take that real quick. We had an issue, it's not an issue, but I serve on the Parks and Rec Commission, and so there was a theft in the community, and it became pretty apparent that our board needed to take a closer look at financials. So we put in policies at that point in time. It should have been done previous to that, but one of those was just having simple bank reconciliations be reviewed by members of the commission. So, that's not a great example, but that is an example of something that we changed. It did last, and we sleep comfortable at night knowing that we made that change.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I am pretty independent when it comes to being on city council. We get along really well, and we definitely respect each other, but we don't always agree. I think probably one of the best examples would be when we were voting on the Holiday Inn in downtown. That was something that, it was a 5-year-old RFP, and it came to us, and it felt very rushed. We had a special called meeting just a few days before Thanksgiving, and we had a downtown business owner who came to the podium and said, "We've not really had a chance to review this plan, this proposal, and we feel like it's being rushed, and our colleagues who also own businesses downtown are not here, and they'd like to be here, and they would like to give their input, and they like to understand this proposal." And so I voted against it because I felt like that was valid, and that that they should have an opportunity to review that proposal, that it shouldn't feel rushed, and that downtown business owners who are working hard every day in downtown, they should have a say, and that we should really listen to them. It also, it was a 5-year-old RFP, and we didn't follow our own process. And I think it's going to be a great place. I hope that they're very serious about the rooftop bar. I'll always wonder if maybe we could have done a little bit better if we had really followed that process and been more competitive. Could we have had a better brand? Could we have had a different, something different downtown? And most importantly, we needed to listen to those downtown business owners. But it passed. I was the only person who voted against it. And afterwards, I shook everyone's hand, and I was told that I was going to have the first drink on the downtown, on the rooftop bar, and I will take that drink. And so I'm a supporter of that. I'm a supporter of downtown. But I guess that's one of the examples I would give. When I really stood alone.
That's a great point, Sarah, because I actually didn't have a problem with the Holiday Inn going through the process of understanding the journey it had been on. I actually thought it was a great idea, but that's a great example of a time when you can have disagreements, and that's okay. You still get the first drink at the bar, right? Like that to me, that is the backbone of what makes Maryville really special, is that we can have those discussions and we can disagree, but we're all going to move on. So I'm glad you mentioned that one. Great question, by the way, and I'm trying to come up with something related to sort of this environment, but I'm going to go with one related to my service on Farmers Insurance National Agent Advisory Council. I was the speaker of the council in about 21, I guess, and we had been getting a lot of feedback about some middle management that had some issues, and nobody wanted to speak up. And so I led a 2-hour workshop with the CEO and all the presidents about some issues they had internally. And I was on an island, but I was passionate about it because so many people reached out to me and said, this is affecting my business, and we need to work through this. And so I worked diligently to make sure that I did the things I was supposed to do in representing the agency owners. And after that, to your point, after that, the CEO said, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you standing up for your peers. And that meant a lot to me.
We're really encroaching upon our time that we say we would keep, folks. Does anyone else want to feel like you want to answer this question? Anything? Okay. No? Good? Okay. All right. I would like to extend a tremendous thank you to the Chamber for hosting us today. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate allowing the candidates to have an opportunity to answer questions. Want to say, candidates, thank you so much. City of Maryville candidates Drew Miles, Dallas Monroe, Sarah Herron, thank you. Town of Louisville alderman Ed Hawk, Charles Perry, Lysia Vaught, Stephen Kelley, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate you investing and giving us of your time today. And to everyone in attendance, thank you for your time. We appreciate you being here and your interest and participating in today's event. So thank you, and have a great day.
Good job. Nice to meet you. I'll see you in here. Good as always.